Imagine this. You're a caveman, stumbling around in a forest at night. No flashlight, no iPhone, no Google Maps, sane, recalculating every 5 seconds. Just you, trees that all look the same, and the creeping realization that you have absolutely no idea where the heck you're going. The panic sets in quick. Do you just walk in circles until a saber-toothed tiger turns you into a midnight snack? Or do you figure out a way to navigate without any fancy maps? Here's the good news. Our ancestors didn't just survive somehow. They thrived. Without GPS, without road signs, without even that one friend who insists they have a great sense of direction and then gets you lost in a parking lot. They had something better. The original navigation system plastered right across the sky, the stars. And guess what? Those twinkly dots up there are way more reliable than Siri ever was. So picture this caveman, scratching his head, trying to decide whether to keep walking straight or just curl up in a ball and cry. Then he looks up. The heavens are practically screaming, "Hey, dummy, the answer's right here." See, the sky isn't random. Chaos, it's a giant, glowing instruction manual. You just have to know how to read it, and that's where things get funny. Because imagine being the first caveman to realize, wait a second, those little sparkly things, they're actually telling us where to go. It's like discovering cheat codes for real life. Suddenly, the forest doesn't feel like a trap anymore. It's just a big maze with neon arrows pointing toward the exit. But here's the kicker. While the stars can save your butt at night, the daytime has its own hacks too. Spoiler alert, it's not just about follow the sun. Though yes, that's part of it. The real trick is knowing how nature leaves breadcrumbs everywhere. The way trees lean, the way moss grows, even the way water flows. It's like Mother Earth was the first person to invent subtle life hacks, long before YouTube tutorial guys showed up. Back to our caveman. He doesn't know all this yet. He's still fumbling, tripping over roots, muttering to himself in caveman gibberish. But that's okay, because you and I, we're about to walk through the whole playbook. By the time we're done, you'll see that the Stone Age dude was basically running on survival Wi-Fi, connecting to signals we've completely forgotten about. So, let's start where all the best navigators did, with the brightest, most famous star in the sky. The one that doesn't just shit in it points, and it's been bailing out lost humans for thousands of years. Alright, so let's cut to the chase. If cavemen had Yelp reviews, the North Star would have had 5 stars and 1,000 life-saving comments. Why? Because unlike your drunk uncle at Thanksgiving, this star doesn't move, while every other dot in the night sky spins and twirls like it's at some cosmic dance party. The North Star just sits there, cool as ice, pointing north like the universe's giant "You are here" sign. Now picture our caveman, still hopelessly lost, staring up at the glittering mess above him. He probably thinks it's just pretty lights, maybe even some kind of Stone Age fireworks. But then, someone in his tribe finally notices, hey, this one star doesn't bud. Maybe it means something. Boom. Instant prehistoric GPS. The brilliance of the North Star is that it gave direction when nothing else made sense. You could be in a forest, a desert, or floating on a log in the middle of an ocean. Look up, find that steady light, and bam, you know which way is north. It was like having a compass before anyone even thought of melting metal. And let's be honest, that's way more reliable than your phone. Think about it. Phones die, compasses get demagogized, batteries run out, maps tear. The North Star, that thing has been chilling up there for, I don't know, forever. Never late, never glitching, never screaming. GPS signal, lost right when you take the wrong turn. But here's where it gets funny. Cavemen didn't exactly have astronomy classes, right? So finding the North Star wasn't as easy as pulling up a constellation app. They had to eyeball it. And the trick was finding the Big Dipper, that cluster of stars shaped like, well, a dipper. 2 of its stars act like arrows, pointing right at the North Star. It's like the universe gave them a giant celestial tutorial. Step 1, locate the spoon. Step 2, follow the handle. Step 3, boom, you've got north. Of course, mistakes were made. Imagine some poor guy pointing at the wrong star, leading his whole tribe straight into a swamp. You just know there was that one caveman who insisted, trust me, it's this one, and ended up guiding everyone to a bare cave instead of a safe campsite. Classic human error. But once they nailed it, game changer. The North Star didn't just help them walk straight. It shaped migration patterns, influenced trade routes, even determined which tribes thrived and which wandered aimlessly until they... Didn't the star literally meant the difference between survival and extinction? Now here's the kicker. Even today, pilots, sailors, and outdoor nuts still use it. Yeah, With all the tech we've got, from Google Earth to satellites watching you buy pizza at 2 a.m., we still fall back on the same trick cavemen figured out with nothing but eyeballs and curiosity. That's how timeless it is. So next time you look up at night, just remember, you're staring at the same beacon that kept Stone Age people alive. No subscription fees, no Wi-Fi needed, just one shiny dot, quietly mocking your dead phone battery. And if the North Star is your nighttime savior, the sun is your daytime wingman. You don't need a Rolex. You don't even need an iPhone clock because our ancestors had the ultimate life hack right above their heads. Morning breaks. And our caveman finally breathes a sigh of relief. Thank the gods, light. Except now he's got a new problem. Which way is east? Which way is west? And why does every tree look like it was copy-pasted by nature? Enter the big, glowing ball in the sky. The Stone Age version of a Rolex. The sun is basically the universe's most punctual employee. Always rising in the east, always setting in the west. It's like clockwork, literally. Our ancestors didn't need Swiss watchmakers or atomic clocks. They just looked up. You want to know what time it is? Check where the sun's sitting. Want to know which direction you're trudging so you don't end up back where you started? Same deal. Picture our caveman squinting at dawn, trying not to fry his retina. He realizes, oh, it comes up from that side every morning. Congratulations, you've just invented the first navigation hack of daytime travel. And it only took you a few million years to notice. Here's how it worked. Sunrise meant east. Sunset meant west. If you held out your right arm toward where the sun came up, left arm where it went down, you had north in front of you and south behind you. Boom! Instant orientation. No compass required. Just two arms and a little common sense. Of course, there were always complications. Clouds. Total nightmare. Suddenly, your sun compass is broken, and you're left arguing with your buddy about which way camp was. I swear, we came from over there. Meanwhile, you're both marching confidently deeper into nowhere. Caveman arguments must have been brutal, but here's where it gets clever. Over time, they figured out how to use shadows. Stick a spear in the ground. Watch where the shadow points. In the morning, it'll point west. In the afternoon, east. Wait a bit. Mark the movement. And congratulations, you've built the Stone Age version of a sundial. Tell time, tell direction, all from one simple trick. It's basically the multi-tool of survival hacks. And you can imagine the bragging rights. One guy figures this out. Suddenly, he's the tribe's VIP. Oh, you don't know what time it is? Let me just check my stick shadow. Yep, looks like mid-afternoon. Instant legend. Meanwhile, the rest are squinting at the sky, muttering, it looks about lunch o'clock to me. Fast forward a few thousand years, and the sun is still pulling weight. Farmers relied on it to plant crops. Sailors used it to chart courses. And even today, hikers still check its rise and set when compasses fail. Sure, now we've got atomic clocks synced with satellites. But honestly, the caveman system still works if you just remember to look up. But let's not get too cozy with the sun, because while it's great for telling you that way is east, it's not so helpful when you're under thick forest canopies or lost in fog. That's when our ancestors started paying attention to other clues, little whispers from nature itself. And trust me, once you hear what the trees and the wind have been saying all along, you'll never look at a patch of moss the same way again. So now the caveman has mastered stars at night and the sun by day. Feeling pretty smug, right? But what happens when the forest decides to troll him thick canopy overhead? Barely a patch of sky, and not a single clue where the sun might be hiding. That's when Mother Nature leans in and whispers pissed. Look closer. First, the wind. It might feel random, just air smacking you in the face. But ancient people noticed something clever. Winds often blow from consistent directions in different regions. Over time, tribes learned that if the breeze usually hit them from one side of the mountains, that was a solid indicator of orientation. Cavemen weren't meteorologists, but they knew enough to say, wind, cold, mountain that way, camp not that way. Basically, nature's hint system. But the real hack, trees. They can't move, so they quietly tell the truth about the world around them. Cavemen noticed that trees lean slightly in the direction of prevailing winds. Spend enough time watching which way trunks bent, and suddenly you've got a compass grove standing right in front of you. And then there's moss, the original. Google Maps green marker. Moss loves damp, shady places, so it tends to grow thicker on the north side of trees in the northern hemisphere. Imagine a caveman crouching down, poking at a trunk, muttering, more moss here, less moss there. Tribe, we march this way. Cue applause. Of course, moss isn't perfect. Sometimes it grows everywhere. Sometimes the tree's just a rebel. You can picture a poor prehistoric explorer declaring, "North is this way," and walking the group in circles for hours because he didn't double. Stone Age navigation was part science, part comedy show. Still, combine wind, tree, lean, and moss, and you've got a survival trifecta. These cues worked even in cloudy weather, even in deep woods where no star dared peek through. Nature basically left breadcrumbs everywhere. It just took desperate humans to finally notice them. And here's the fun part. These little hacks aren't extinct. Modern survivalists still use them. Lost hikers still glance at moss, still lick a finger to test the wind, still pretend they're Bear Grylls while secretly praying their phone finds 1 bar of service. Our ancestors would laugh at us, but hey, we're using the same tricks they did. So far, Caveman has gone from clueless wanderer to amateur nature whisperer. He's reading stars, sun, wind, and trees like cheat codes. But let's face it, man cannot live on air alone. Sooner or later, you need water. And water, conveniently, loves to play navigator too. Follow the flow, and you just might find your way back to life. Our caveman is sweaty, hungry, and now thirsty enough to drink from a muddy puddle, if it comes to that. But then he hears the faint trickle of running water. And here's the Stone Age secret. Water doesn't just quench your thirst, it tells you where to go. Rivers and streams were like nature's highways, long before anyone paved roads or painted lane markers. The logic is simple. Water flows downhill, always. Follow a stream, and eventually you'll hit a bigger river. Follow the river, and sooner or later you'll find fertile land, animals, or best of all other humans. In the Stone Age, stumbling onto a riverbank was basically winning the lottery. Fish to eat, fresh water to drink, and maybe a friendly tribe downstream that won't immediately clobber you with a club. Cavemen quickly figured this out. When lost, they'd search for water, because it wasn't just survival, it was navigation. Rivers carved through landscapes in predictable ways, and they usually lead to larger bodies of water. You can imagine our caveman muttering, "If river goes that way, then food goes that way, and maybe less chance of dying." Not exactly poetry, but effective. And water wasn't the only clue. The land itself gossiped about where water hid. Birds flying low at dusk often meant they were heading to a water source. Insects buzzed, thicker near streams. Even animal tracks in the mud-pointed cavemen toward lakes and rivers. Basically, if you were observant enough, the wilderness was dropping hints everywhere. Of course, mistakes were made. Follow the wrong set of paw prints and suddenly, you're not at a lake, you're face to face with a bear who also thought this was a great watering hole. But hey, survival isn't about zero mistakes. It's about making fewer mistakes than the other guy. Once a tribe locked onto a river, though, their chances skyrocketed. Rivers weren't just guides, they were lifelines. People built camps along them, traveled with them, even passed down routes from generation to generation. To this day, most great cities around the world hug a riverbank because thousands of years ago, some scruffy caveman realized this wet stuff is basically telling us where to live. So picture our caveman, trudging along the bank, drinking handfuls of water, following the flow with a new sense of purpose. He's no longer wandering blindly. He's on the Stone Age freeway, moving towards survival. And just when he thinks he's figured it all out, he glances up and notices something unexpected in the sky. Not stars this time, birds, a whole flock, and it hits him. Even the creatures above are in on this navigation game. Our caveman trudges along the riverbank, sipping water, feeling proud of himself for finally decoding nature's hacks. And then he looks up. A flock of birds cuts across the sky, wings beating in unison, arrowing in a single direction like they've all agreed on a secret plan. And that's when the realization hits. Wait a minute, these feathered guys know more than I do. Birds are like the unpaid tour guides of the natural world. Ancient people noticed that certain species always flew out in the morning toward feeding grounds and returned at night toward water or shelter. Follow them at dusk, and chances were good you'd end up near a lake or a river. Suddenly, dinner and directions came in one convenient flying package. And then there's migration. Cavemen didn't have National Geographic documentaries, but they weren't blind. They saw massive flocks moving in the same direction at the same time each year. South in winter, north in summer, giant, feathery arrows screaming. Civilizations that way. You couldn't miss it. Birds basically broadcasted weather reports and GPS updates across the Stone Age sky. Even nests were a dead giveaway. Find a cluster of them, and you'd know water was close. After all, no bird in its right mind sets up a nursery miles away from a steady supply of hydration. So when a caveman spotted a tree full of nests, he wasn't just thinking omelet. He was also thinking orientation. Of course, not every bird clue was foolproof. Some flocks just circled aimlessly. Some nests were red herrings. And sometimes you'd follow geese for hours, only to realize you were now even more lost than before. Picture the tribe glaring at the poor guy who said, "Trust me, just follow the birds." Oops. But overall, these winged creatures gave priceless hint. Even today, indigenous trackers and modern survivalists still glance upward for guidance. Birds have been spilling secrets for thousands of years. Most of us just forgot how to listen. Our caveman, though, is starting to get it. He's reading stars, sun, trees, water, and now birds like a pro. He's gone from terrified wanderer to self-proclaimed Stone Age navigator. But here's the punchline. All these tricks, all this wisdom worked perfectly for thousands of years, until we invented smartphones. And that's where the story takes its final hilarious twist out. Our caveman has done it. He's cracked the code of the wild. Stars at night, sun by day, trees, wind, moss, water, even the birds overhead. He's basically the original navigation influencer, minus the hat. And here's the punchline. For tens of thousands of years, this was enough. Entire tribes crossed mountains, deserts, and oceans without a single printed map. Humanity spread across the planet using nothing but eyeballs, patience, and a willingness to trust bird gossip. Fast forward to us, the descendants of these hardcore survivors. What do we do the second we lose cell signal on a road trip? Panic. Absolute meltdown. Suddenly, we're in the same boat as Cavemen, except he looked up at the sky and found answers, while we just sit there yelling at a glowing rectangle that says recalculating. Somewhere in prehistory, an ancestor is face-palming, but that's what makes it hilarious. Stone Age humans didn't just survive without maps. They thrived. They built trade routes across continents, migrated with the seasons, and even sailed oceans long before anyone had the idea to scribble lines on parchment. Their apps were the constellations. Their Wi-Fi was the wind. Their Google search was literally staring at moss and thinking, north must be that way. And the irony, the tricks still work. Lost hikers today still find north with the Big Dipper, still stick a stick in the ground to track shadows, still follow rivers back to towns. All the satellites, apps, and gadgets in the world can die in your pocket. But those ancient hacks, they're immortal. Now picture our caveman, sitting on a hilltop, finally making it back to camp thanks to his star in nature cheat codes. He probably struts in like a hero, chest puffed, grunting something like,
"No
"Me
service.
smart, me find home," and the tribe cheers, because without him, they'd still be wandering in circles. Meanwhile, us, we get lost in a grocery store parking lot when our phone dies. Caveman would laugh his furred loincloth off. He didn't need Wi-Fi, data plans, or Find My iPhone. He had the whole earth and sky as his guide. So here's the moral. Next time you're outside, take a moment, look at the stars, watch how the sun moves. Notice which side of a tree wears the mossy jacket. Because the truth is, our ancestors weren't just bumbling cavemen, they were survival geniuses. They hacked nature, turned it into a compass, and navigated a world without roads or signs. And honestly, that's way cooler than asking Siri,